Good morning or good evening or whatever it is, Glen. We are here in Blackpool with Mr. Glen Durrant, former Premier League champion, as you mentioned now and again. How are you, Duz?
I'm really good. It's exhibition day here in Blackpool, so working with Colin Lloyd's always a real joy.
Yeah, it's Maverick Promotion with Ben. You're doing Paul Hinks is here.
Yeah.
Lovely Jade. What's this going to be? What's the format here? Just throw a few darts, have a laugh?
That seems to be my exhibitions these days. It's a couple of years ago. This would have been a real anxiety concern for me because I was falling over the hockey. I was not being able to hit a big 20 or anything like that. So I'm doing okay. I'll never no talk of Q school or anything, but I'm not nervous about playing today. But just really looking forward to having a bit of fun, and I do try to show a different side of personality to me when I'm up there, and gone are the days where I'll just blitz everyone with 11 and 12 darters. So you might see I was in Barrow on Friday, put the piece of paper over the board, bang, straight in the bullseye. So it's there's a little bit of magic still there sometimes.
We know how good you were. You don't win 3 World Championships in the Premier League unless you've got quality. Do you not miss a competitive edge though?
Not once.
No.
I did walk into Blackpool this week and my mind went back to 2019, arguably, even though it was only a semi-final, the greatest week of my darting life. Lakeside, the first one's up there. Much better than the experiences of either Premier Leagues, but I don't miss it at all. I'm very busy, and I think that last 18 months destroyed me. As a dart player, when I was losing 6-0, 6-1s, I used to look in the mirror on the morning in the Premier in and say, right, I'm going to win it today. The last 18 months was, come on, let's win a leg today, let's average over 70. I had a lot of sponsors on my shirt, meaning I couldn't pull out, so I think that destroyed any thought of ever being a dart player again.
Well, personally, for me, I was obviously with you, and it was heartbreaking to watch somebody who I respected and I knew was class slowly not be able to do it. But I'm glad. I mean, you've seemed to duck towards with the commentating, which you're always going to do well at. Is that what you enjoy the most now?
I can't even begin to tell you how much I enjoy it. It's hard. I'm not a wordsmith. I think the other commentators laugh at my chat GBT and my words I have by the side of me. So I have a lot of superlatives from fantastic, wonderful, stupendous, and I try to bring them in there. So I know I'm different in that way, but I can't rely on telling the story of what's happening. I feel like I'd be using the same words all the time. So when you say duck to water, it's actually a lot of hard work. Big thanks to other people. There's a lot of statisticians that I read. Carl in particular as well has just been unbelievable on X, and he sends me a lot, but I'm trying not to be too statty these days because it's okay telling when you go to exhibitions, they said it's they want to hear the story. So I love it. I think it's the best thing that's happened since darts, but it's not easy.
You're there to be from an ex-professional, an ex-world champion Premier League. You're not there to be William Shakespeare. You're there to give your view from a player's mind, and say the likes of Dan Dawson and Stuart Bikers, as excellent commentators as they are, they haven't played the game, so you're there from a different perspective.
Interesting, because my wife said on the very first one I did, why did you use that word? Why did you say this? I said, that's because Rod Studd says that. That's what Dan Dawson says that, and she was a bit like, well, you don't. So pretend you go down the pub and telling someone it's halfway through the match and this is what's happened so far. So something like that really helped me. So yeah, I did try to be Dan Dawson.
I've got to say your wife's right. Be you.
Yeah.
They wanted you. Be you.
Yeah.
And to talk about the leap up now to £1 million for the winner for the Worlds. Now this tournament is seen as the second most esteemed ranking tournament, and it's 200,000. Do you think the gap, as good as it is, do you think the gap is going to cause false averages? Sorry, false rankings.
Yeah, and I'm working for the PDPA now as well, and I know we've been working on listening to the players about the ranking system as well, and I know that Andy Scott is just lives and breathes the game, and he's put something together. It'd be interesting to see what that's like. I came from the BDO background where it used to have points. So it could be something similar to that, but I think there was a stat out there where if you win the Worlds for £1 million and don't win a leg of darts for the next just shy of 2 years, you're going to the second World Championship, seeded number 3. So it's very top heavy. But our sport that was born in the workmen's clubs is now playing for £1 million. And you can look at all the negatives that you won in the world to that, but that is brilliant. That's the headline. Barry Hearn said, we will one day be playing for £1 million. Now we'll deal with the things that come with it. And if the rankings is top heavy because of that million, the PDC will come up with a solution for that. And if the PDPA can support and speak to the players, and I think that's what we should do. But I think we should be celebrating the fact that this working man's sport is now playing for £1 million to the win. It's wonderful.
I totally agree. It is great, but like you said, you can win every other tournament on TV and then win the Worlds, and you don't equate to that. I just think you said we'll have a look at it soon. Do you think it'll come into play soon?
That's up to the PDC, isn't it? I mean, we are, as part of the PDPA, we'll listen to the players, we'll listen to yourselves, and you know, the PDC don't have to make wrong decisions. I don't need to crawl around the PDC no more. I'm not a player. I'm not looking for an invite to the World Series of Darts or anything, so I can say what I want. They don't have to make the wrong mistakes. You know, let's celebrate it as £1 million, and if there's issues to that, to ranking systems, then let's come up with a solution.
Okay. Well, you mentioned the World Seniors. Obviously, you were part of that for a while. Recently, there was some news, obviously, about Barney being invited, and people saying, well, he's got a tour card. The PDC didn't actually ever come out and say we're granting him dispensation. It was always available, apparently. What do you make of that?
Well, I thought Matt did come out and say that. I thought he did explain the reasons behind that. It was a surprise.
They explained it, but it wasn't like, yes, we now give him dispensation. So it wasn't that they granted him allowance. It was something that was maybe a loophole.
Yeah, it was a surprise. I sort of watched it come out similar to yourselves. You know, I wasn't involved in the decision process or anything like that from the PDPA point of view or anything like that. But I do know that a few players have come to me now and said, can I play in this? Can I play in that? So there might be things from that. So it certainly will need clarification. I'm sure the PDC will make the statement of what's available now, but the players are making questions about that. So it'll be an interesting sort of next short-term period of what happens next. But it was a surprise to me.
So the PDPA weren't given a heads up?
I wasn't, so I'm a director of the PDPA, so whether the PDPA were involved in the decision process to allow Barney to play in it, then that I genuinely, I don't know the answer to that, but if it was just the PDC, that they've done it, and it could have opened a can of worms. Say players are now asking questions, could I play in this, could I play in that, and other seniors, maybe Gary Anderson, Peter Wright, you know, those players over 50, Andrew Gilden, etc., over the age of 45. I think I read somewhere Chizzy's 45 soon. So you could even see Chizzy in the same. Does it mean that, you know, that they can now apply to play in the seniors? You know, that's as much as I can say.
I wouldn't say 45 is seniors, because we're seeing so many great players still above 45, top of the rankings. So if a player does say, look, I want to play or I want to be eligible, they can't really say no.
Yeah.
Can they?
I don't know. Like I said, it was. I watched it as a fan come out from there, but they've all been. My query would be, if I applied, is, well, you've allowed one player to do it. But like I said, it's that's about as much as I can say, as much as I know about that there.
It is very hard now for players that are outside that top 32, and I think there is talk about lifting some restrictions, because it pushes players towards either having to have a lot of financial backing or push them towards a manager, because right now it's your hands are kind of tied. So if they did allow players outside the top 32 to compete in other organisations, it would take the pressure off them financially. I
think the PDC are and will look into what I mean, you could be quite bullish to say there's an incredible amount of money there. You win one game at the Pro Tour, it's £1,000. But you know, my last year on the circuit, I won $3,500. That's not going to be able to allow anything. I mean, the Euro Tour structure. There's so many things that that could be looked at, which would benefit the players above the top 32, top 64. And as the PDPA, we are looking at 1 or 2 options and 1 or 2 proposals to pass to the PDC as well. So we are listening. I'll say to any player who's watching this interview now, talk to me. I can facilitate. I'm not a decision maker for the PDC, but I can then pass it to discuss with Alan, Peter, the other directors on the PDPA. They have meetings regularly with the PDC as well. So I just want to say to the players, I'm here, I'm listening, and just let me hear your thoughts.
Is that your mantra as a PDPA director,
so.
as a soundboard between the player and the organisation?
Yeah, I used to give the PDP a hard time. I think I gave them 2%, 3%. I can't remember of my 275,000 won for the Premier League. So I did. Then I recognised how much work they actually do. I feel like at times I don't do as much as some of the others.
You've since apologising, have you?
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I
have. No, joking aside, I've sat in meetings and said, I really disliked the PDPA, but now I can see what you do. I mean, there's so much out there for players that but we can't actually shout from the rooftops what we do because a lot of it's confidential. Addiction, gambling, drugs, drink, mental health. The work we do with Sport and Chance, we're sports psychologists. We can't just then go out there and say this is what we've done for this person because it's confidential. But not all players will see that. They'll just see the fact that they're paying the 2%. But I've gone in there and said, I didn't even realise that was out there. I didn't even look at the website as a dart player. Just relied on Mac Elkin to say you're in this country, you're on that flight, and you're on this. So I do see my role as I'm still fairly relevant. And if players are talking to me,
you're respected amongst your peers, and I think that's I mean, I've been around players, and no one's ever said anything other than praise. It's like not just a great player, a great champion, but a great guy as well.
I'm not looking at that, but I'm using that as a positive, where a top player would come and have a chat with me because I want to know how people are thinking and whatever there. So it's not easy, the PDP. I've got other things, other commitments going on as well, and sometimes I wish I could give more. But they're working extremely hard, and of course I'm going to say that. But I'm thin-skinned. They're thick-skinned, and when we take the abuse of what I've read over the past few weeks, and it's hard because I'm sat there, and I did a leaflet recently, a booklet of all the successes that we do. We gave 128 out. When everyone left, there was 63 left on the tables. So I know, but I speak to people like you. Players don't listen, they don't read emails, they don't look at books. So we have to look at more modern ways. More social media, more podcasting. So there's lots of things. I'd like to do with the PDPA, but at the same time, it's like sometimes I'm thinking, Glen, am I doing enough? Heavily involved in the coaching now. We've just got shy of 70 accredited coaches on the PDPA system now, and I've played my part in that. I stand up, and we've had some top class players on there. John O'Shea's been a real success as well.
He's doing great in Ireland with his
Nick Kenny was on this week, Scott Williams was on this week, because it's great additional income as well. I run it as a business, my coaching, so I know how profitable it can be, and we talk about how to run a business. Your taxes, your websites, and everything that you need to know as a limited company or a sole trader. So it's not just the coaching is not just about that. It's a lot about safeguarding.
Don't expect yourself too thin, Glen, because when you get to a certain age, mate, and you got to slow down.
Yeah, but I didn't need to do it. I didn't need to do it.
I know it's a passion for you. It's more like
it is. I didn't need to do it because I had a very successful business. Didn't have to take in all the years of research of throws and feel and the psychology and the technique and the balance, the posture, the elbow, the follow through, the wrist, the fingers, the stance. All that I've studied over the past few years. I've stood religiously, and now I'm passing it all on to everybody. Didn't need to do it, but I feel good.
We'll talk the match play because we are in Blackpool, and before Ben decides to put the volume up anymore in the sound system. The match play so far, what are your thoughts on the first, we've done the first round. I'm going to ask you for your most impressive performance and your biggest shock.
Biggest shock? Well, Luke Humphreys going out has to be the biggest shock. I think the Dutch have been great, but it might surprise me. I think the performance of James Wade I think that touch on longevity.
Yeah.
You know, how he's just at the top and maybe a massive win away from returning to the top 4 as well. But I've been impressed with the likes of that, Vessel Nyman, Jan van Veen,
Yeah.
Danny Noppert under the radar, Luke Littler again, who's my tip to win it. Only once the draw came out though did I begin to tip Luke Littler to win it. So it's been, it's been an enthralling one. Then we had the excitement of Price versus Gurney yesterday as well. So it's had a little bit of everything. The seeds have fallen.
What's making that? Because he had beef a few years ago, didn't he? But then you had a big hug and embrace end of the World Cup, and I know obviously you've not been involved in a lot of situations because you're not that kind of person, but you've been involved in beef on the stage. Is it kind of forgotten about once you get to the back room? Is it all handshakes?
Yeah, I wish I could say it'll be hanging around for a long time, but it wouldn't surprise me if Gurney and Price have shook hands backstage. Your mind can just go all over mush when you're up there. It really can, and you do things and you wake up at 3 in the morning and think, what did I do that for? I thought it was great. It was on the back of Gary Anderson saying all the players like robots, they put the music in their ears and there's no characters coming out the game, so that was perfect timing. I watched it as a fan. I was home. I finished my Sky Sports duties for the week this week until next Sunday, and I watched it as a fan and couldn't turn it off, so for me it was good.
Yeah, it was quite exciting to see. I mean, you don't want to, I mean, the purists don't want to see that, but again, like you said, it does attract, that'll be the headlines. It won't be like how well a certain player's played, it'll be the headlines, Price Gurney is showdown.
Yeah.
And that's what sells.
Yeah, absolutely. So good on it. They're not robots. There's loads of characters out there. It's not all nicey. We had 16 weeks of the Premier League where they were living in each other's pockets and everything was rosy. Put yourself in a ranking event like that, when the chips are down, you'll see a reaction, and I thought it was great.
Right, champ, give me a winner and then we'll wrap it up, mate.
I started only when the draw was done. But
apart from Luke Littler, who else? If you're going to take Luke out, I mean, obviously Luke's a massive favourite. He played so well the other day.
I like the form of Gezi Price, and there's a bit of an outsider, Jan van Veen, after beating Luke Humphries has got to be there with a chance. But Littler for me.
Do you think we'll see a new name on the trophy?
Yeah, I think Littler wins it. I really do. I think he gets to the quarter-final because he loved the pace of Watnamina. Then he's in the quarter-final. He's acclimatised. He's had wins on the stage, and then I think he'll really fancy his chances.
You heard it first, Glenn. Thank you very much for your time, and enjoy the exhibition, sir.